And welcome everybody, and welcome to those viewers who are watching the meeting via the live stream at home. Now, brings us to the opening prayer, and if I can ask you all to please be upstanding. And Deputy Mayor Migdale, would you please read out the opening prayer?
I sure will. Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Councillor Thornton, could you please read the acknowledgement of country?
On behalf of councillors, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, on which this meeting is taking place, and show our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you. You can take your seats. Without prior approval, any recording of this meeting is prohibited. No action should be taken on any resolution of council prior to written advice from the city being received. Item 1 is the official opening, and ladies and gentlemen, I declare the council meeting of the 5th of December 2023 open at 6:31 p.m. Item 2, attendance and apologies, I have nil. 3, approved leave of absence. We have one for Councillor Ree, granted the leave of absence from the 7th of November 2023 to today, inclusive. 4, disclosure of interest. There are no disclosures from the Planning and Development Committee meeting held on the 28th of November 23. For the council meeting, Councillor David Lagan has disclosed impartial interest in item 13.1 as he has met with the community and petition presenters on 2 occasions. And Councillor Dudek has disclosed a financial interest in item 13.2 as one of the tenderers is a client of his brother's business who he does accounts for. Councillors, are there any other disclosure of interest? Councillor Proud?
I'll have an impartial interest on the Wembley Downs one.
Thank you. No other indications? Thank you. Item 5, petitions. Councillors, are there any unverified petitions to be presented this evening? No indication. 6, responses to previous questions from members of the public taken on notice, and all public question time responses from the last council meeting were published in the minutes of that meeting. That does bring us to item 7, which is public question time. We've received some questions for tonight, so we'll ask you up in order. And I'd like Monique Van Wyck, if you'd like to start off, please. And if you come forward, and on the microphone in front of you, there's bottom right-hand corner, if you press the silver button, you'll see a red light come on. That's it, and you can just leave that on now. Thanks for coming up. If you can just state your name and suburb to start off, and then your questions, please.
Thank you, Monique van Wyk from Dianella. I have questions regarding the Chester Avenue development.
Thank you.
These questions that I'm about to ask, I would like to know if it's going to go forward to the DIP report, the meeting. My question 1 would be, why was there lack of substantial modifications, particularly in build height, in the revised submission compared to the initially proposed development that underwent public comment?
Thank you. Ms Lombarca.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the question. So the applicant chose not to redesign after receiving the city's letter. The city's letter outlined outstanding issues with the proposal, including the building height, and we advised that we didn't support the building height, and they chose not to amend it but provide further written justification. So from the city's perspective, we don't support the building height, and that's reflected in our report.
Thank you.
Second
Question 2. A consultant report made a comment that the school to make use of alternative entrance during construction. Given that the 50-year-old school has only one primary entrance, this is not an option. How does the construction site plan to establish a secure route for dropping off children at school, considering the absence of an alternative entrance?
Thank you. Ms Lombarca.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. So ordinarily, a construction management plan is provided as a condition, or it's required as a condition of approval, and it's provided at a later date. So that level of detail is provided in that plan. I acknowledge there's constraints with the school site, and the applicant might have mentioned that, but that's something that the city would assess at the time we receive that plan and determine whether it's appropriate or not.
Thank you. Question 3. How does the council plan to ensure ongoing monitoring to confirm that the trees used as a privacy screen maintain sufficient density and continue to effectively serve as a screen over the years?
Thank you. Ms Lambaka.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. So should the Metro Inner North Joint Development Assessment Panel approve the application, a condition, the city would recommend that a condition's imposed requiring that the landscaping be maintained or provided and maintained in perpetuity. In saying that, landscaping is one of the ways that you can mitigate visual privacy, but it's not the primary way that the city would look at visual privacy. Obviously, landscaping, trees and things can die, so screening and built form and design is the primary reason and way that you deal with visual privacy.
Thank
you.
Thank you for your questions. We might get Christian Van Wickup if you'd like to come up. I'm guessing it's on the same subject. Yeah. So just, if you turn the microphone back on for me, sir, just on the bottom right-hand corner. That's it. And
Testing. Yep.
Yeah, and your name and suburb.
Christian van Wyk, and it's in Dianella as well. I got one question. Do the councillors and the mayor agree that developers and their paid constituents should not be able to be councillors when those councillors are linked to development applications in their own ward?
No, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but there are local government act that regulates all that sort of thing. So there are declarations of interest, etc.
Yeah. There seems to be, from what I've read, a bit of a conflict of interest between certain parties.
I'm certainly not aware of it from any of the councillors here. But it's entirely up. The onus is on any councillor to have a declaration of interest if there is a conflict. It's in the Local Government Act. If you believe that's been breached, you're welcome to submit something.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ching Yu. Thank you. And just turn the microphone back on. Sorry, everyone, if you can just leave the microphone on once you turn it on this time.
Oh, hello. Can everyone hear me? Oh, hi. Good evening. So my question is also related
just your name and suburb to start.
Sorry. My name is Cheng from Yokoi. My questions are also related to Lot 201 Chester Avenue in Dianella. I'm one of the parents of the kids in the primary school right next to it. So my concern is, as per the structure plan, they said that the distance between the balcony will be blocking the vision of the residents to look at the kids. But what if they use the selfie stick? They can easily bypass that, and then they can still film the kids in the primary school. So if that happens, what will be the council? What will you guys do to protect the kids? This is my first question.
Thank you, Ms. Lambaka.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. So the city's advice in that scenario, if it were a resident or anyone for that matter using a selfie stick to take photos, so that would be something that would need to be reported to the police.
Okay.
Acknowledge that there's design setback requirements and things like that, but that type of matter is a police matter.
Okay, yep. My second question is also related to the trees. So after completion or after constructions of the complex, and most likely the ownership of the complex will be passed on to the council of owners. So what if the trees dies, and then the council of owners refuse to replant the trees or do anything? So what will the council do?
Sure, Ms. Lambaka.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. So the city can enforce compliance with conditions of approval. So we have power to do that under the Planning and Development Act, and we can do that for any condition. So as I mentioned in the previous response, a condition the city would recommend would be that landscaping is planted and maintained in perpetuity, and so the city would enforce that condition.
Okay, yep, okay, that's all my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Mitchell, please. And that microphone's off again. If you just want to turn it back on, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you. Your name and suburb?
Robert Mitchell, Karrinyup. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, council officers and fellow in the public. My first question relates to, as shown below, the questions of the facilities such as the performing arts, sports ground, swimming pool and other undesignated as considerations to the Stirling City Centre has been on foot for many years now. The Director of Community Development advised that the city has been preparing a community infrastructure plan for the Stirling City Centre. That was stated on the 7th of February this year. The project, I understand, from previously asked questions, has been actively on foot for some time. An additional $100,000 was committed to carry out or complete this plan at the beginning of this year or last year, I don't know. Surely by now some traction has been made to identify where these infrastructures or built form are planned to be placed. Mayor, you indicated the council is in no hurry. And I ask the question, how long is a piece of string?
Thank you for that question. I'll go to Mr Mullins for some of the response here.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Mr Mitchell, for the question. A draft community infrastructure plan has been prepared for Stirling City Centre, although during this process it was identified that a number of other interrelated matters need to be progressed. This includes, but is not limited to, the completion of the Stevenson Avenue extension through to Cedric Street, along with other site investigations and associated infrastructure works.
Thank you, Mr Mullins. And there will be a report that will come back to council early next year, Mr Mitchell. I'm sure you'll be very pleased to hear. But there are other significant works that must go on.
Thanks, Mayor. I sincerely hope so. My next question is, Mayor, in answer to the question about the Karrinyup Library at the last council meeting, you announced that the City of Stirling was engaged in the future of Lot 3, Davenport Street, with the shopping centre owner-manager. There seems to be, as I may understand, it is that this lot is subject of some type of deed or covenant that the property be maintained under the City of Stirling. Is that correct?
Ms Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank Mr Mitchell for the question. There was a caveat on that property, as you noted, but that has since been lifted, so that's no longer in place.
Does the government of the time have changed use of the property from civil to commercial and residential, allow the lot to be developed into a 4-storey commercial and or residential with built form, having a library community centre and including 2 levels of basement parking. The entire property being constructed and leased by others for a long period by the City of Stirling to others. Is that what's going to happen?
Not necessarily, Mr Mitchell. What we have done, my commitment to yourself and the rest of the community, was we would ask the owners of Karrinyup Shopping Centre site how they would like to proceed with all the remaining lots, including the Karrinyup North Court building on the corner, the car park site and the library and the community centre. And we have committed that as soon as we hear anything back, we will not make any decisions without reporting back to you and the community, Mr Mitchell. There are no plans.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Ellis.
Peter Ellis in Corrine. Good evening. Greetings and salutations, Mr Mayor, councillors, fellow ratepayers and staff. May I please ask that my replies to my questions are on notice, please?
You may.
Thank you. As a new Chief Executive Officer takes up appointment, I spelt that wrong, early in January 2024, What appointment does the retiring Chief Executive Officer hold, and does he continue to receive the balance of his contracted payment of around $100,000 till April 2024?
Thank you, and we will respond to you in writing.
Thank you very much. As my English comprehension is not too flash, I consulted the Macquarie Dictionary, and their definition of summary is a brief and comprehensive presentation of facts or statements, and no mention of deleting or inserting words. So can you advise why my words were changed and the regulation which authorised it?
Oh, it's
Phew.
because,
I'm pacey,
because that's
shouldn't
what
I?
a summary is, Mr. Ellis. But we'll respond to you in writing.
Can you please confirm that when the Chief Executive Officer signs, when presenting the minutes of the previous meeting, that he actually advising the presiding person at the meeting that the minutes are accurate, and then confirms the minutes, and that is what the councillors are voting on?
Yeah, the councillors are privy to the minutes as well.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Ellis.
all.
That's it.
Have a Merry Christmas and a very safe New Year.
You too.
Thank you.
Felicity Lamb. And it's already on, so just your name and suburb, please.
Yeah, sure. My name is Felicity Lamb. I'm from Dinella. It's also regarding the DA application for the development 23/0883, 39 Chester Ave. First question is, do any councillors or planners agree that the neighbouring school will, in quotes, benefit from surveillance by neighbours in a 6-level apartment building?
The planners have indicated in the report that they don't, and it's up to council tonight to make a decision on whether they support that recommendation going through.
Okay. Number 2 is, do the planners acknowledge that sections through the primary school in the architect drawings in the DA are incorrect and biased toward the developer, and that the current design has direct views into classrooms?
Thank you. Ms. Lambaka.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the questions. So the officers always undertake their own assessments of the plans, so they never take anything as gospel, so to speak. So the officers have undertaken that assessment and the sections are accurate. As Mr. Mayor had said, it's a reason for refusal in the city's RAS, so they've assessed that the visual privacy is not supported.
Sorry, did you say accurate or inaccurate?
Accurate.
So the sections through the school are accurate?
The sections on the plans are accurate. I think your comment or question was that they're inaccurate and there's overlooking.
The section through the school...
I'm sorry, you can't debate this. I'm sorry.
It's further explanation. It's not a debate. I just need to understand, because on the drawings, the section through the school is incorrect. So when it shows the cone of vision, you will be able to see into classrooms, and the current design application...
So I'll get Ms. Lambaka to comment on the city's response.
So the officers, I suppose, agree with you. There is overlooking into the adjacent school. I think where we disagree is you've assessed it as the sections being inaccurate, and the officers have assessed that it's accurate. But we agree in the fact that there's overlooking into the school.
Into the
classrooms. If that clarifies, I think what you're saying.
And it doesn't, but anyway.
Well, I mean, on that, we can definitely catch up with you and discuss what you've looked at and then what we've done, and we can sit with you and go through that.
Okay. It was in my response
And your third question,
to
please.
the DA. Thanks. Do planners and councillors and the Mayor believe children have the right to safety and privacy at their primary school, and that it is their responsibility to enable this?
Thank you. And that is, obviously, that item is on the agenda this evening, and councillors take everything into account and certainly take the community views into account when assessing these applications.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I will rule, we've just come to time, so I will rule to extend question time. I have Roland Hadley up next. Is there anyone else who is missed out? So we'll finish. Mr. Hadley, your name and suburb.
Good evening, Roland Hadley, Woodlands. We note the Mayor wants to waive developers' fees as listed in agenda item 12.1 DS6. As mentioned at a council meeting several months ago, this is not a good image for you, Mr. Mayor. What benefit for the city's ratepayers, we ask? The existing policies for building within the City of Stirling should remain, and developers should accept this. Which poverty-stricken developers are in need of urgent financial relief, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Hadley. The minutes of the committee meeting reflect that I moved that the city does not revoke the policy and the developers do not have any concessions in regards to development fees. But that is an item for council to decide tonight.
Thank you. Question 2. Hopefully, for ratepayers, there will be no 500 passengers arriving at Scarborough Beach every 15 minutes on the Golden Chariot, despite the claim made by the Mayor several meetings ago. Why the CEO did not strongly advise the Mayor and Council many moons ago that without state or federal funding approval, there would be little point or benefit in having a trackless tram trial. If this is still the intention of the Mayor to continue with his dream project, please advise ratepayers of the estimated costs and notes on cities that have gone bankrupt. Will the Council and the Mayor in particular concentrate on matters that ratepayers expect a local government should be involved in?
And thank you for that question. And as you're well aware, Mr. Hadley, from the early 2000s when you lobbied this council for better transport solutions down Scarborough Beach Road, including, in your own words, monorail or light rail, to move people.
I did not personally suggest that, Mr. Mayor. I think you're wrong there again.
Okay, thank you. Parliamentary writings, but anyway, the Stirling City Centre and the strategic vision of the City of Stirling has always been to support more population along corridors that needs better transport solutions. This council will continue to play a role in advocating for that with all levels of government. This city is not a public transport authority and has never anticipated that it will run public transport, but it is entirely within our remit to test out new technologies, and it was a very successful trial. Thank you for asking, Mr. Hadley.
That's your opinion. Thank you. Question 3. Why has the Mayor charged Councillor Ray with bringing the council into disrepute? Illegals is a term used by the media and in Parliament, referencing people who come by boat to Australia. They are not migrants in the true sense of the word in this context, nor is it a racist term. Councillor Ray did not comment and only shared a post that has been widely expressed by many. Your colleague, Suresh Rajan, was keen to say that the term illegals was construed as racist. Even quicker, a report appeared in the local paper. Who informed the press? Did you, Mr. Mayor, contact Mr. Rajan when you received a copy of the post on the same day on the 11:47 or at 1:47 p.m.?
Thank you for those questions, Mr. Hadley. Some of the contents of your questions are false in that no one has been charged with bringing anything. What happened, and I can tell you, because myself and many councillors don't have any access to Councillor Ree's Facebook, and Mr. Rajesh is not a colleague of mine. He's actually on disability advocacy and a past network with migrants. He actually put the complaint in, my understanding is, and the media contacted the city for comment. My comments were very straightforward. I said those views do not align with the city's values. They were that simple.
Well, how did the media get to know about the comments made by Mr.
You'd have to ask the media, sir. It certainly wasn't from myself. You can do an FII on my emails.
Thank you.
There's no other indication, so I will move on now to item 8, which is applications for leave of absence. Councillors, are there any applications? Item 9, confirmation of the minutes. Councillors can either move it and a seconder to accept the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 21st of November. Oh, all up there. Moved Councillor Kristovich, seconded Councillor Papadin. Just a show of hands, councillors, for those. And those minutes are accepted. It's unanimous. Item 10, announcements by the presiding member. I do have a couple of quick ones. First one is just noting that Councillor Migdale does have to go to an important representation about 7:30ish, so she will leave, but that's prior noted. And I would like to note this is the last council meeting of the year. Yes. And more importantly, it's Stuart's last council meeting. So whilst we have had the festival of Mr Jardine for the last few months, it's a very significant tenure at the City of Stirling, 16 fantastic years. I've had the privilege of working with Stuart as Mayor for 6 and as a councillor for 8, and I know some of you sitting around the table for many more years other than that. Not only those 16 years here at the City of Stirling, but in total I think Stuart's worked under 14 mayors across his career. Pretty impressive when you consider the local government sector and the volatility and the areas that you put in. Stuart's always had an incredible skill in working with different personalities and navigating the systems of local government for the betterment of the community. On top of that, along the way, he's got himself a couple of world records, Guinness World Records, mind you, that I know he's very proud of. And I know he's also extremely proud to leave the city not only in a strong state, but with one of the highest satisfaction ratings in the country. So, Stuart, it has been an absolute pleasure. I know the rest of council sit around here in total agreement with me, and it's been evident right throughout every performance review. The work you do in leading such a fantastic team, in ensuring the sustainability of the city through putting in place such strong leaders in our executive team. The depth of that has been obviously evidenced in the appointment of one of those directors as our new CEO, and then watching the line underneath be able to be promoted. A fantastic statement, I think, for the culture of the organisation, and fantastic for those other staff members who are here to see what can happen if you work hard for Team Stirling. Stuart, we wish you all the best. I know for the next 3 months, as Mr Ellis always points out, you will be around to help us out and have some roles here at the City of Stirling while you work out your contract. But as your role as CEO comes to an end, heading into Christmas, again, on behalf of the community, we thank you for your unwavering support of the community and to make Stirling such a great place. And we wish you all the very best in your future, Stuart.
Thank you. I promise not to cry. I'll start on occasionally the Mayor calls me quirky, which I don't think I really am, and we are a results business. Check the annual report, we do pretty well. But we'll start with a did you know, which is Riz is the word of the year for 2023, according to the publishers of the Oxford English Dictionary. The term deals with charisma and charm. How's that for cryptic? And again, with your indulgence, I'd take this opportunity to say hi to all my TikTok followers. It's not quite as many as one of the councillors in here, but it's still fairly significant. On a more serious note, it has been an absolute privilege to successfully serve the city for so long. It's never been anything less than an honour. I've been fortunate to work with some of the finest mayors, councillors, colleagues you could ever hope to meet. Particularly at my time at Stirling. I look back with immense pride on the City of Stirling evolving into the sector-leading, progressive, innovative local government it is today. And finally, the time has come for me to say goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. Now move on to the meeting. So item 11, unresolved business from previous meetings, I have nil. And we'll move on to item 12, which is reports and recommendations from committee. From the Planning and Development Committee of the 28th of November, councillors, we have 12.1 CPS 2, any discussion of the confidential attachments behind closed doors, as for 8.1 on the commercial property proposals, but there are none to be pulled out. Councillors, would you like to pull out any of those items from Planning and Development? No indication. In that case, Councillor Proud, if Chair of the committee, if you'd like to move those Planning and Development reports.
I'll move the balance of the Planning and Development Committee reports.
Which is all of them. And Councillor Papard has seconded those. I will go to the vote on that, councillors. Thank you, and that is unanimous. So members of the gallery and the viewers at home, please note that all of the recommendations from the Planning and Development Committee have been adopted en bloc. We'll now move to item 13, reports for consideration in accordance with section 4.24 of the Meeting Procedures Local Law 2021. We'll go to 13.1, the proposed multiple dwellings development, lot 201, house number 39, Chester Avenue, Dinella, noting that Councillor Migdale has an impartial interest. She's a JDAP panel member. So those members in the gallery, as you're probably already aware, Councillor Dudek will also do some paperwork. Yep. Yep. So the members in the gallery, you may be aware of some of the process with this. Tonight, councillors actually have a look at the officer's referral report, which will go to JDAP. JDAP is the decision maker in this. JDAP is made up of a couple of council members who sit with the independent members. So those council members cannot be involved in any discussion prior to it coming for their deliberation, which is why they've left the chamber now. Councillor Olo.
Excuse me, Mayor, I'm a deputy on JDAP. Do I have to leave the room as well?
Not unless there's an indication that the others won't be there, which
thank you.
The fact they're both left, I would suggest should be right. Councillor Lagan, you have a motion, is that?
Yes, I do. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, just make some commentary as well.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Giudice?
Yeah, and no one being opposed. Look, just some quick commentary. Can I thank the officers for an excellent RAR, also for the process steps that the officers have been through. Clearly there was a petition brought by the community on this item, and the community has been very, very strongly involved, which I think is a great thing, given that we have infill in a number of areas in the city that affect community and affect amenity. It's great to see when the community step up, and I thank them for coming in and presenting and giving questions as well. The only comment I wanted to make was about our DRP, and I'm looking at page 113, where commentary from the DRP within the city itself, it says that the panel is supportive of the amenity of this proposal. And the circle in question I put around that was why, because our officers have obviously suggested not approving it. The other commentary that I note from the DRP was that on page 104 of the report, when they talk about built form and scale, they talk about a commentary for possible change, but they talk about, in comment C, it says comments were made that by the panel, the articulation of the side elevation is a plus in reducing the brutality of the form. And my only comment on that is that's correct. The reason this became an issue was because of the height and bulk of this proposed development. I did think the report from the presenting company that was presenting for the applicant was actually very good. But given that this is a small cul-de-sac and there's already been development in it, it is brutal and it was overlooking a school. And my commentary, the reason I wanted to make comment is because I wanted to ask the officers through you, given the targets for Perth to Peel 3.5, has the city met its infill targets or have we exceeded it already?
Thank you. Ms Lambaka, can you just comment on the last question, but also on the amenity from the DRP, the comments?
I'll start with the amenity, on the DRP. So the discussion from the DRP is about the internal design that meets the principles of state planning principles. The brutality, you're correct, it does break up the articulation. The reason they're supportive of it though is obviously they're just looking at design. Officers are looking at the planning assessment, and so that's where the officers' recommendation is not supportive. It's not a bad thing for us to not agree in terms of the comments because we are looking at different things. In terms of the target, we're only delivering around half of what we should be delivering under Perth and Peel.
That's not through lack of planning though.
That's correct.
Yeah, there's market forces in play there as well. So look, thanks for that commentary, and I guess it's good to get the clarity on the DRP's terms of reference and what they look at and the planning terms of reference, because it appears that they clash to the community at times. They don't necessarily, but it did force me to go back and look at the terms of reference for the DRP and what we actually look for when we put these items to the DRP. It is great that the city's got that. It's a good process. It's good for developers and it's good for us to be involved in that process. But as I said, I support the refusal. I think this one doesn't fit. Its height and bulk and scale is too big. It doesn't fit in the area. I'm not against development. I think there's been some good development proposals in the area and Dianella is going to get a lot of uplift. This one just doesn't fit the bill.
Thank you. And there is no debate on this as there's no one opposed. So thank you for your clarifications. I will put that to the vote. Move Councillor Lagan, seconded Councillor Giudice. Thank you. And that is unanimous. So we can invite those JDAP members back in. For those people in the gallery here for this item, I'm also aware there may be a few viewers at home who are watching because we did receive some questions, whose questions will also be published in the minutes of this meeting even if they weren't read out. Council has unanimously supported the officer's recommendation for refusal. That will now go to the JDAP during their decision making. Who went out just then? No, I was just thinking it was Councillor Dudek and Councillor Migdale outside, isn't it? Can we close the door? We'll go straight on to 13.2. Councillor Dudek has to stay out for this one anyway, and Councillor Migdale, oh no, she will. So let's just have, leave, Councillor Dudek can stay, that's it? Okay. Thanks, Matt. So we'll go on to item 13.2, the tender for the Wembley Downs Tennis Club facility refurbishment. Councillor Dudek is out of the room as he has a financial interest. Councillor Proud, do you have a motion?
I'll move the committee recommendation on page 518.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Kristovich. Is there anyone opposed for this item? No? In that case, I will put that to the vote. Thank you, and that is unanimous. Thank you. And if we can have Councillor Dudek invited in now. Thanks, Councillor Ferrandi. All right, we'll let him get settled because his big moment's coming up. So we're going straight into 13.3, Councillor Dudek. And I'm guessing that you'd like to move a motion in regards to this?
Yes, please, thank you. I'd like to move the alternative recommendation as written on the screen.
Thank you. And you've got, do you want to read out the additions?
Yeah, I'll read out the additions. So, as was written in the report for points 1 and 2, for point 3, that the City of Stirling undertakes a sample survey of residents to determine whether they would like to see a return to the annual bulk verge collection compared to the current skip bin on demand system. And 4, that a report be presented to Council in mid-2024 outlining the results and methodology of this survey.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Or we'll just, Councillor Criado, you happy to second that? Is there anyone opposed? Not yet? Okay. In that case, I will put that to the vote. I think we've got one to go. Councillor Ferrandi, he's been busy. He's worn out from all the up and downs. And that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Can I also just thank the officers for this report and also the work they did in doing that one-off clean-up to help the councillors from the Balga Ward. I think it was good effort and a good report. Item 13.4, submission to the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal. Do I have a mover of the motion, please? Councillor Lagan.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation. If there's no one opposed, I'd like to make a bit of commentary if I can.
Sure, and Councillor Proud has seconded you. Is there anyone opposed to this one? I'll allow a quick comment if you'd like.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I note this was picked up by the media, and there's some haze around whether or not this is a valid thing for us to do. And I looked up the annual report for the City of Stirling 2021-22 to look at the number of meetings that each elected member attends. And I note in the report, and thanks to the officers for an excellent report, it was very well put together. It's a standout report in that it makes strong suggestions as to why the sector should be looking at large councils, large municipalities, and at the elected members of those councils, and the report suggests quite strongly that we are not just volunteers. There's not many volunteers that spend 3 nights a week at a council chamber, respond to thousands of emails every year, and then spend, as many of our elected members do, both days of the weekend attending numerous community events, including yourself, Mr. Mayor. If it was voluntary, there'd be very few people that would take it up. The case here for the increase, I think, is valid, given that most of the councillors here would attend between 30 and 40 meetings a year and workshops and deliberate over very large budget figures and very large projects. And massive reports, as Councillor Kristovich says, which is fantastic. I think this is valid, and it's a good time for the sector to say to the state government, we're not asking them to please recognise. We're actually saying to the state government and to the committee that oversights salaries and wages, the tribunal, that the work being done here is valid and realistic, and it needs to be supported. With a package that supports the amount of effort that people put in. I think, having worked on this council for 12 years, there's a lot of people who put a lot of effort in for the community. I'm well aware the community do support this and do back the councillors that put the work in, and the community is very happy that you contribute what you contribute. So 100% support this. Well done.
Thank you. And there is no one opposed. Moved Councillor Lagan, seconded Councillor Proud. I'll put that one to the vote. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.5, review of local laws. Do I have a mover of a motion? Councillor Migdale, Deputy Mayor Migdale.
Happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Hatton, seconded. Is there anyone opposed? Noting this is just to initiate the review. Yep. If there's no one opposed, I will put that to the vote. Thank you. That is unanimous. Anyone who is just watching that either in the gallery or at home, please note that this wasn't reviewing those local laws. It was just initiating the review. So that time will come, and there will be, I'm sure, heavy debate on some of those local laws that are to be reviewed. Brings to item 13.6, the Meeting Procedures Amendment 2023, outcomes of the advertising and the final adoption. Note that an absolute majority vote is required for this item. 13.6, Councillor Lagan.
Moving the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Proud is seconding. Is there anyone opposed? No, then I'll put that one to the vote. That is unanimous. Thank you. And again, noting that was just a minor clean-up of the previous local law that was amended. 13.7, use of civic facilities for the citizenship ceremonies 2024. Do I have a mover of a motion for... Is it just a clarification?
Yeah, clarification, Mr. Mayor. The dates are, as you go down the list, they switch from 2024 to 2023. So I'm not sure if that's misreading it or misunderstanding it.
Let's just have a look. I'm pretty sure there's probably just a couple of typos. It has been corrected. It's already been. It's all been updated on the report, so they are 2024. So the Deputy Mayor is quite happy with the dates, which is the most important because you will be doing them all. And Councillor Proud's happy to support you because she knows how much work you're about to do for the following year. Is there anyone opposed to those dates? Noting that they can be reviewed, obviously. We do get information from the department and I have the authority to change the dates if it is needed, but it puts them in the public realm. So there's no one opposed. I'll put that item to the vote. I think we've got one to go. That's it, and that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Brings to item 14, which is notice of motions for consideration. 14.1, the proposed notice of motion for Councillor Perkoff, bird waterers in the City of Stirling.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There's a suggested alt rec on page 559, and I'm happy to support that.
Yes.
Councillor Kristovich keeps these like a heckler tonight. Mr.
And
Mayor.
amended
I've
and
really got
improved, it would be suggested. Councillor Kristovich is happy to second you there. Yes. So, is there anyone opposed to the improved alternative rec? Just a question, Councillor Thornton. I'll allow a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. With regards to certain species of birds, and especially our black cockatoos, are we going to design bird waterers that are in ideal locations? For instance, they need to be within 1 kilometre of a night roosting spot, and I know that we have several as evidenced by our slips that we have.
So,
are we going to look at things like...
So it's taken on notice, yes,
Yeah.
remembering that this will be a report that comes back to council, so that report isn't here yet. But we will ensure the director has listened. Yep, thumbs up, it will be done. So if there's no one opposed, move Councillor Perkoff and seconded Councillor Kristovich for bird waterers across the city, yep. To be added on to the previous motion, yes. Get the voting up, please. Thank you. Okay, we've got a couple to go. Criado, Migdale, Papard. Councillor Papard, have you voted? Councillor Papard, have you voted? It's a subtle way of saying you haven't voted. Now you have voted. That is yes. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 14.2, proposed notice of motion from Councillor Rob Papard. Scarborough to Trigg Walkway. Your motion, councillor. Microphone.
I read it out?
Well, we need to know which recommendation is it.
Okay.
Is it a suggested alternative recommendation? Or your original recommendation, or a hybrid of both? It's up to you.
I'm happy to go with my original recommendation.
City. So the only problem with going with your first one is the suggested alternative recommendation is basically doing what you've asked in the first one. It's prioritising it and making as soon as we're back in 2024, having a workshop on it. So if you go to your first one, then it's basically saying prioritise it.
All right, so it's a sort of staged process to...
I would take it that the officers are being helpful here and saying they will facilitate an elected member workshop.
All right.
And then you can bring it to council. But that way it gives councillors have an understanding of what's happening, and officers will be able to prepare a much better report.
All right.
If you're happy with that.
And the workshop is early 2024 in the first quarter, was that?
Yep, as soon as you come back from break.
All right, okay. I'll go with the suggested alternative recommendation.
Before March, put it that way.
All
yeah,
right.
Good.
Should it be the will of the councillors?
Let's not overplay it. Councillor Kristovich is happy to second that.
Thanks, Tony.
Is there anyone opposed? If not, I'll put that one to the vote. Councillors? That is unanimous. Thanks, councillors. 14.3, proposed notice of motion. Councillor Thornton.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd like to move the recommendation on the board with a slight amendment.
Sure.
That the Mayor writes to the Minister for Planning, the Minister for the Environment, the Mayor of the City of Vincent and the Lord Mayor of Perth, voicing concerns with respect to the concrete batching plant proposed to be relocated number 71 Edward Street and number 120 Claysbrook Road, Claysbrook, to the City of Vincent depot at the site number 1 Linwood Court, Osborne Park.
Thank you. And happy with that amendment. That's a lot of work for me to do over Christmas, Councillor Thornton. Is there a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor seconded that. And is there anyone opposed? If not, I'll put... Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to understand the background on this because it's been around for a long, long time, the concrete batching plant. And in fact, since I think I ran Federal Perth many, many years ago, it was back then, they were trying to work out where to place that. When we do write to them, we have some consideration in the background on etc. because it is a big move or whatever is going on.
Sure, and some of that's in the report. So it was a timed development approval, as it said in the report. So this is one of those things that now that Claysbrook is becoming a more mixed use and the density is increasing, which the irony of this is exactly what Hersman Glendalough, the city's own planning is. So, yeah. Yep. Is anyone opposed? If there's no one opposed, we'll put that one to the vote. One to go. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. While you will go on council break following the last meeting, I will write letters. We're going to item 15, notice of motions for consideration at the next meeting. Councillors, do you have any notice of motion? I know, Councillor Proud, you have one.
That a report be presented to council to consider the installation of barbecue facilities within the 24-25 budget for the below three parks and reserves, Burley Reserve Innaloo, Yaluma Park Innaloo and Bradley Reserve Double View. Did you want the reason written?
No, it's quite obvious. Cook some snags. Happy with that. Is there any other notice of motions? Actually, while you're on that, can I just make a comment to the director? I've got to say, I've been going past the barbecue facilities at Scarborough. They are exceptionally clean every day. So well done to the team. No, they are being used. They are being used all the time. But seriously, they are brilliantly clean all the time, and it creates such great usage of them.
Mr. Mayor, can I indulge? My neighbour is the cleaner of those barbecues. Oh. Could I relay that to him?
Please, tell him to watch the live stream.
Can you get a plaque?
Yeah.
Can I ask them to come around my place?
No.
And my barbecue?
Let's keep it on track. All right, that brings us to item 16. Questions by members of which due notice has been given. We have nil. New business of an urgent nature. We have nil, and we have no matters behind closed doors. Councillors, you've done the job, so Deputy Mayor Migdale didn't have to leave early. Item 19 is closure of the last meeting of the year at 7:22. I close the meeting. I wish all of you around the table and officers a very Merry Christmas. To those left in the gallery and to our viewers at home, can I also sincerely wish you on behalf of all of us a fantastic Christmas, a safe and happy holiday season with your friends and your family. And whilst councillors will be around over the next 6 or 8 weeks, you're welcome to contact them. We won't see you at a meeting again until late January. Thank you.